April 14th, 1943, 11:47 p.m., Lyon, occupied France. The alley smells of wet stone and coal smoke. Somewhere nearby, a tram screeches as it grinds to a halt under blackout rules, its lights dead, its passengers swallowed by darkness. Above the rooftops, low clouds choke the moon. This is the hour when Lyon holds its breath. In the attic of a silk workers building near Croix-Rousse, an 18-year-old girl kneels beside a bicycle that hasn't moved in months. Eliane Brault's fingers are black with grease and copper dust. Her hair is tied back with a scrap of cloth. She does not look heroic. She looks exhausted. The bicycle is upside down, its rear wheel suspended by a rope. When she spins it, the tire whispers against the air, and a small metal cylinder near the spokes begins to hum. A dynamo. The sound is barely audible, but in this room it feels thunderous. Everyone freezes. Below them, boots echo on cobblestones. German boots, a patrol moving south, rifles slung, laughing about something she can't hear. Eliane counts the steps without thinking. 1, 2, 3. She's been doing this since she was 16. Encore, someone whispers. Again. Eliane spins the wheel faster. The dynamo vibrates now, alive, converting motion into current. A faint glow flickers inside a salvaged bulb nailed to the beam above her head. Not bright enough to be seen from the street, just enough. Electricity. For 6 months, London has been waiting for this moment. The attic is barely large enough for 4 people to breathe without bumping into one another. The roof beams sag, rain leaks through the tiles, and yet, hidden beneath blankets and false floorboards is something worth more than gold in 1943 France. A radio transmitter. Not a factory-made set, not something dropped by parachute or smuggled across the Pyrenees. This one has been built from trash. A bicycle dynamo stolen from a repair shop, copper wire unwound by hand from downed German telegraph lines after Allied bombings, a rusted soup can, once filled with turnips, now carefully cleaned, polished, and wired into the circuit. A capacitor.
The Germans control everything that matters. Vacuum tubes, batteries, radios, paper, fuel. Even knowledge feels rationed. Anyone caught with an unauthorized transmitter doesn't go to prison. They disappear. Eliane knows this. Everyone in the room knows this. And yet they lean closer as the dynamo spins, as the current flows through wires stripped with pocket knives and fingernails. The radio is alive. 6 months earlier, Eliane was still pretending to be a student. She carried notebooks she no longer used. She memorized German checkpoints the way other girls memorized poetry. Her father had been taken in 1942, questioned, released, broken. He never said what happened inside Montluc prison. He didn't need to. When the resistance recruiter first approached her, he didn't ask if she was brave. He asked if she could keep secrets. She said yes without hesitation. By early 1943, Lyon is a nerve center of the French resistance. Couriers move through cafes. Messages are hidden in loaves of bread. Names are never written down. Cells never meet each other. If one is caught, the others survive. But information is useless if it can't leave France, and radios are death. The problem is power. Transmitters need electricity, steady, reliable current. Batteries are impossible to find in quantity, and German inspections are relentless. Anything that draws suspicion gets you denounced, sometimes by neighbors, sometimes by friends. It's Eliane who has the idea. She remembers her childhood bike rides along the Rhône, the soft whine of the dynamo as the lamp flickered on at dusk. Motion becoming light, light becoming safety. Why not reverse it? Why not turn legs into power? The older men laugh at first, then they stop laughing, then they start thinking. Within weeks, they're scavenging, moving only at night, waiting for air raids to expose German infrastructure. When bombs fall, telegraph lines snap, copper spills into the streets like veins torn open. They collect it in silence. The soup can comes later, a mistake at first, an experiment, filled with foil, wax, oil, anything that might hold a charge. They test it again and again, failing, quietly, dangerously. Until one night, the signal jumps, just for a second, long enough to prove it can work. Back in the attic, Eliane nods. The wheel is spinning smoothly now. One of the boys, Mark, barely 17, adjusts the tuning coil with hands that won't stop shaking. Another watches the window, counting patrol passes. And then, a voice. Not spoken, not heard, felt. The needle on the meter twitches, the signal stabilizes, the radio hums, soft and steady, like a living thing breathing. They are broadcasting. Encoded bursts of intelligence, train movements, fuel depots, troop concentrations. Information that will be decrypted in London by people who will never know the smell of this attic or the fear sitting in these chests. Every transmission lasts less than 2 minutes. Longer than that, and German direction-finding vans can triangulate the source. Shorter than that, and the message might be lost. Timing is everything. Eliane watches the seconds tick by. 1 minute. 90 seconds. She raises her hand. Cut. The wheel slows. The dynamo winds down. Darkness returns. No one speaks. They wait. Outside, the boots pass again, closer this time, and Eliane realizes, deep in her gut, that the radio has worked, which means the hunt has begun.
The silence after transmission is worse than the noise. Eliane keeps her hand raised long after the wheel stops turning. No one moves. In the dark, the attic seems to shrink, the air thick with warm metal and sweat. Somewhere below, a door slams. A voice barks in German, then laughter again, sharp, careless. The patrol moves on. Only then does she lower her arm. Mark exhales like he's been holding his breath for a year. They don't celebrate. There is no smiling. Celebration is dangerous. It makes you sloppy. Instead, they dismantle the transmitter in practiced silence, wires coiled, the soup can capacitor wrapped in cloth, the bicycle flipped upright and pushed back into the shadows, transformed once more into an object no one would ever look at twice. By midnight, the attic is empty. By dawn, their signal is crossing the channel. At 02:13 hours, in a nondescript brick building outside London, a Royal Air Force corporal leans closer to his headphones. He hears it. A weak, fluttering transmission, uneven, hand-powered, alive in a way factory-built radios never are. The call sign is unfamiliar. The rhythm is hesitant, but disciplined. Whoever's sending this knows the rules. He signals his supervisor. The message is logged, decrypted, verified. Lyon. Train yards. Fuel reserves. A unit of German armored vehicles repositioning south. By sunrise, the intelligence is on the desk of a man who will never know Eliane Brault's name, but whose decisions will move aircraft, redirect bombers, and cost lives. The bicycle has done its job. Back in Lyon, the cell melts back into the city. Eliane walks to class with her books tucked under her arm, passing German soldiers drinking chicory coffee in the morning light. She keeps her eyes down. She always keeps her eyes down. At a checkpoint, a Feldwebel glances at her papers, then at her face. Too young to be dangerous. He waves her through. If he knew. The rhythm becomes routine, if anything in occupied France can be called that. Twice a week, sometimes 3 when the information is urgent, always after midnight, Always under 2 minutes. The bicycle wheel spins, the dynamo hums, the soup can warms slightly in Eliane's hands. They nickname the transmitter Crystal, not because it's fragile, but because it feels pure, clean, honest. Each transmission is a risk. Each success makes the risk worse. German signals intelligence units, the Funkabwehr, are not amateurs. Direction-finding trucks roam the city, their antennas rotating like the feelers of insects. They listen constantly, mapping the invisible web of resistance signals. By May, they know there is a transmitter in Lyon. By June, they know it is not British-made. By July, they are narrowing it down. Eliane notices the signs first. A black car parked too long near the silk factory, a man reading the same newspaper every afternoon at the same cafe, the way patrols linger instead of passing through. The city's mood shifts, subtle but unmistakable, like a change in air pressure before a storm. She suggests reducing transmissions. The message comes back from London 2 nights later. Continue. Priority traffic. There is a rail convoy scheduled to move artillery east. The Allies need confirmation. They can't stop now. The night of the longest transmission begins with a problem. The dynamo slips, the rope holding the bicycle frays, fibers snapping softly, dangerously. Mark tries to fix it with trembling hands. Every second feels like an hour. Eliane watches the meter dip, then rise again as she spins harder, faster. Her legs burn. The signal holds. Outside, a truck engine coughs, then idles. Someone is close. 90 seconds pass. 2 minutes. She should cut it. She doesn't. 30 seconds more, and the message is complete. When she finally raises her hand, it's too late to take back the time. The next morning, posters appear. Avis à la population. Unauthorized radio transmissions are punishable by death. Inspections begin at random. Buildings searched floor by floor. Attics opened. Basements flooded with light. The cell scatters. One member disappears entirely. No warning, no explanation. Another fails to show up at a rendezvous point. Eliane burns her notebooks that night, watching the pages curl and blacken in the sink. She keeps the soup can. She doesn't know why. On August 3, 1943, a German direction-finding van stops 2 streets away from the silk workers' building. The antennas rotate. The engine idles. And in the attic above, the bicycle waits. August 3, 1943, 11:06 p.m. Lyon breathes uneasily. The direction-finding van doesn't move. Its matte gray sides swallow the streetlight. Black cables snake from its roof into the darkness like feelers tasting the air. Inside, headphones hiss softly, alive with the invisible static of a city at war. 2 streets away, Eliane Brault pauses at the corner. She wasn't supposed to come tonight. The plan had been to go dark for a week, let the Germans lose interest, let the signal cool. But the message arrived at dusk, folded into a bakery receipt, written in pencil so faint you could miss it if you weren't looking for it. Urgent, confirmed troop redeployment. Tonight. She feels it now, the wrongness of the night, the way the city seems to watch her back, the way even the shadows feel occupied. She almost turns around. Almost. The attic smells different when she arrives. Ozone, dust disturbed too recently. Someone's been here. Mark is already inside, pale, sweating despite the cool air. They're close, he whispers. She nods, she knows. They work anyway. The transmitter goes together in silence, muscle memory replacing thought. Wire to coil, coil to capacitor, capacitor to key. The soup can sits between them, dented, scarred, absurdly ordinary. Outside, the van's antennas rotate again. Inside, Eliane flips the bicycle upside down. At 11:14 p.m., the dynamo begins to spin. The signal leaps into the dark. This time, it feels different, cleaner, stronger, too strong. Mark's eyes flick to the window, then back to the meter. "It's peaking," he whispers. Eliane slows her pace, easing the wheel, coaxing the current down. Sweat runs into her eyes, her legs scream. She ignores them. The message starts. Coordinates, timetables, units. London answers with silence, but the receiver confirms receipt. 1 minute. 90 seconds. Below them, a car door slams, then another. Boots. Not passing this time. Stopping. The knock is not loud. It doesn't need to be. Bam. 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 Polizei, öffnen Sie. Mark's hand slips. The tuning coil clatters against the floor. Eliane cuts the signal. Too late. They scatter.
Mark grabs the wire bundle. Eliane rips the soup can free, burning her palm. Someone kicks the bicycle upright, shoving it toward the wall. The trapdoor to the attic yawns open, spilling darkness down into the stairwell. But the boots are already on the stairs. There is nowhere to go. The door explodes inward in a shower of splinters. German soldiers flood the room, rifles raised, faces flat and efficient. A Gestapo officer steps in behind them, leather coat gleaming in the bare bulb's light. His eyes go straight to the bicycle, then to the wires, then to Eliane. She doesn't cry. She doesn't scream. She lifts her chin. They separate them immediately. Mark is dragged away, protesting, his voice breaking. Eliane is pushed down the stairs, her feet barely touching the steps. The building's tenants watch from doorways, silent, terrified, complicit. Outside, the direction-finding van hums, satisfied. The Gestapo officer lights a cigarette. 18, he says in French, glancing at her papers. Not a question. She says nothing. You are very young, too young to die for England. She meets his eyes. You'd be surprised, she says. He smiles. Montluc prison smells of bleach and despair. They take her name, they take her watch, they take the soup can from her coat pocket, turning it over, confused. What is this? One guard asks. She shrugs. Trash. They lock her in a cell barely large enough to lie down. The door slams. The darkness settles. The interrogations begin the next morning. They ask about London, about call signs, about other cells, about names she doesn't know and places she's never been. When she doesn't answer, they change tactics. They always do. She learns how long a human being can stand without collapsing, how pain narrows the world until it is nothing but breath and will, how silence can become a weapon sharper than any knife. She thinks of the bicycle, of the way it hummed, of the signal leaving France, and she says nothing. 3 days later, London receives one final transmission from Lyon. Short, fragmented, unscheduled. Then nothing. The Funk Abwehr logs the silence. So does the resistance. But Eliane is still alive. For now.
August 7th, 1943. Montluc prison does not know what time it is. Time here is measured in footsteps, in the scrape of keys, in the screams that come from other corridors and stop without warning. Eliane Brault marks days by the light that leaks through the slit above her cell door, a pale, sickly rectangle that shifts just enough to remind her the world is still turning. They have not killed her. That, she learns, is deliberate. The Gestapo believes in patience, in pressure, in the slow erosion of certainty. Each day they ask the same questions, as if repetition itself might pry open her mind. Who built the transmitter? Who trained you? Where are the others? She gives them nothing. Sometimes she answers with silence, sometimes with lies so small and unprovable they exhaust the questioner. Sometimes she stares at the wall until they remember she is only 18 and hate her for it. In the city above her, the resistance adapts. Mark does not break. Another cell absorbs what remains of Eliane's network, piece by piece. Couriers reroute, safe houses change. The silk workers' building is sealed and searched, then quietly forgotten when nothing else surfaces. The bicycle is returned to a repair shop, repainted, repurposed. The soup can disappears. And yet, despite the arrests, despite the fear, London continues to receive intelligence from Lyon. Not from Eliane's transmitter, from others who learned what she proved, that power can be stolen, that radios can be born from scrap, that ingenuity is harder to kill than people. The Germans never understand what they truly found. Their reports describe an improvised electrical apparatus of unusual simplicity, a curiosity, an anomaly, something clever, but isolated. They never realized that Eliane's 6 months on the air changed how the resistance thought about technology forever. She is transferred twice. Each time, the guards seem surprised she's still alive. Once, a French collaborator leans close and whispers, "If you talk, this ends." Eliane smiles through cracked lips. "That's why I won't." Winter comes early in prison. The cold seeps into bone. Food shrinks to ritual more than sustenance. She dreams of spinning wheels, of copper glowing, of voices crackling through the dark. She does not know that Allied bombers are already adjusting their routes based on intelligence she helped send. She does not know that a fuel depot she identified will burn in October. She does not know how much her silence has already cost the enemy. She only knows she must endure. On December 19, 1943, a list is read. Names. Transfers. Some will not return. Eliane's name is not called. Instead, 2 weeks later, she is moved again, this time to a holding facility outside the city. The guards are nervous. The air is different. Rumors creep through the cells like drafts. The Allies are coming. The Germans feel it. They become crueler and more careless. In London, an intelligence officer flips through old files. Hand-powered transmission, bicycle dynamo, soup can capacitor. He underlines a note in the margin. Replicable. That single word travels farther than any radio signal Eliane ever sent. On June 24, 1944, with Allied forces pushing inland from Normandy, Montluc prison opens its gates, not for mercy, for evacuation. Prisoners are marched out under guard, loaded onto trucks, driven east. Chaos reigns, orders conflict, air raid sirens howl. During the confusion, Eliane stumbles. A guard shoves her. Another yells. A shot cracks somewhere behind her. Then, nothing. She runs. Through trees, through fields, through a world she barely recognizes. By dawn, she is free. She returns to Lyon weeks later, thinner, quieter, alive. The war will end in less than a year. Her name will not appear in headlines. Her face will not appear in photographs. But somewhere, in a museum drawer or a forgotten archive, there will be a dented soup can and a report that says a teenage girl once powered a radio with a bicycle and changed the war in ways no one could fully measure.